Yo, what's good, YouTube? Sam Crow here, aka Scoot, back with the CPC Season 7, and we've got week number 2 here, and we're facing off against the Carioca Krooks, coached by El Biribon. Is that right? I'm pretty sure that's right. Anyways, he's got a pretty scary squad consisting of Mega Gardevoir, Kartana, Como-O, Milotic, Klefki, Tentacruel, Incineroar, Magneton, Rabombi, Braviary, Mudsdale, and the Sigilif, where his Z-move users are Como-O and Incineroar. So yeah, really scary squad. He's got the Mega Gardevoir, which is nice, can pass wishes, can just spam Hyper Voice and click Psychic, and maybe Destiny Bond or something like that. It has access to Disable and stuff. Kartana has access to Knockoff. Has really powerful stab, Leaf Blade, and Smart Strike with decent coverage, not anything too special, but the thing's a threat nonetheless, especially with Beast Boost. He's got the Como-O, which, like I mentioned, is a Z-move user, very threatening. But we have Azu, we have ways around it. I don't think that he would bring like an offensive Z-move user for Como-O. He's got the Milotic, which could be problematic, but we have Mega Sceptile. I think Milotic can be tailor-made to take a Leaf Storm from Sceptile though, and can bop back with either the Ice Beam, could be a Rendo variant, could be a Mirror Coat variant, all kinds of different things Milotic can do. But I feel like our team can handle it pretty well. He's got the Klefki and the Tentacruel, which could be problematic. One gets, defog, the other gets Rapid Spin. They both get Spikes and Toxic Spikes, which is annoying, respectively. Not, I don't think Klefki gets Toxic Spikes. Incineroar is a nice Z-move user as well, but I do have the Embor and I am bringing it this match. So I don't think Incineroar is going to be too big of an issue versus our team. Same for the Magneton. I don't think, Incineroar, Magneton, and I don't think Sigilif is going to be too big of an issue. I think the rest of his squad is pretty much problematic, though. The Rabombi, the Braviary, the Mudsdale could be problematic. We do have pretty solid offense versus the Mudsdale, so I don't expect it to come. We have Mamo, Greninja, Azu, Sceptile, so on and so forth. So I don't really expect Mudsdale to come unless he just brings it so that I don't have a Volt Switch spam with the rest of my squad. Rotom and so on and so forth. But I guess his biggest threats to my squad are Kartana, Mega Gardevoir. I don't think he's going to bring a offensive Z Como-O, but if he does, that would be pretty threatening. And then Braviary, Rabombi could be problematic. But yeah, we've built a pretty fun squad. We'll talk about our entire roster for a minute. We've got Clefable, Azu, Mamo, Greninja, Tornadus, Mega Sceptile, Snorlax, Bronzong, Embor, Rotom, Oricorio. I said that out of order. And our Z-move users are Tornadus, Incarnate, and Embor. So we've got our regular Z Captain, Tornadus I, which can use any Z move, and then we've got Embor, which can only use attacking Z moves. His only attacking Z move mon is Incineroar, and Como-O can use any Z move, which don't boost all your stats and doesn't boost evasion stats. So that's pretty nice. My opponent lost in week 1, 2-0, narrow loss, and we won in week 1, a narrow 2-0 win. So yeah, very close games so far, and I expect nothing less of this game as well. So that being said, as you can see on screen, I've got Greninja, Bronzong, Snorlax, Embor, and Tornadus, Incarnate, and the Mega Sceptile. So we can go ahead and hop into it. Okay, so our first mon was Greninja, and we brought out a Life Orb variant this week. This thing, it's like a nuke versus his team. His best water switch in and dark switch in, like my dual stab, he doesn't really have one outside of Como-O, which I have extra sensory for, and Klefki, which could be problematic. But Hydro Pump, especially torrent boosted Hydro Pumps with my Life Orb intact, we'll be doing quite a bit to the Klefki. It's not necessarily a resist, but it is problematic. And having a dark type on the squad allows us to negate Klefki's prankster ability, so that's really nice. We've got Hydro Pump, nukes. Don't necessarily nuke, but does a lot to Klefki, Incineroar, Magneton, Rabombi, Braviary, Mudsdale. Dark Pulse does a lot to Sigilif, if not knocks it out. Does more to Tentacruel than Hydro Pump does, so I don't have to risk Hydro Pump and if it came down to it between extrasensory and dark pulse, and I'm in a position where like he could switch out to something like from Klefki to Tentacruel or something like that, then dark pulse or extrasensory could be. I guess it's situational, but I feel like this coverage was my best. Gunk shot's there for the Mega Gardevoir, and with my Life Orb, a Life Orb Dark Pulse knocks out Kartana from full, even if it's max HP. Extrasensory does quite a bit to Tentacruel, but if it's if it's bulky or Spadef or like an Assault Vest variant, it will tank extrasensory, so that won't be too big of an issue for it. Hydro Pump, Life Orb, Hydro Pump does quite a bit to Magneton. If it's not Eviolite, it probably knocks it out. Same for Mudsdale and Braviary. After Stealth Rocks, Braviary drops to Hydro. Hydro Pump into Gunk Shot always knocks out Mega Gardevoir with this spread, and maybe Gunk Shot always knocks out a no investment Mega Gardevoir from after Stealth Rocks with just 80 EVs and a negative attack nature. This thing has a really cool speed tier. I've got it speed creeping everything outside of Ribombee in this matchup. It outpaces Kartana, Mega Gardevoir, Tentacruel, Braviary, Sigilif, so on and so forth. Everything all the way up to the Ribombee. Can't outspeed it, so didn't even try. But yeah, outspeeding the Kartana is really nice. And like I mentioned, we can't OHKO that, so it's pretty nice. So yeah, I guess we can move on to Bronzong. Bronzong, it was kind of mandatory to run leftovers this week. My opponent has Mega Gardevoir and the Ribombee, so he's got Fairy Spam, which is kind of problematic. He's got the Sigilif and the Klefki, which could chip away at us a little bit here and there. Coming in on a potential Scald from Milotic could be problematic if it's necessary. Like say I have my Embor in and I don't want to go straight into my Sceptile because he could go for Ice Beam, and my Greninja's gone, so my best play would be to go into Bronzong first. Could potentially avoid a Scald Burn, get a little bit of my leftovers back, and that negate my Scald damage that I take from the Milotic. But basically this thing is EV'd max Spadef, max HP with a Spadef boosting nature, because I can avoid a 2-hit KO from Mega Gardevoir's modest Shadow Ball. So that's really nice, and I bop it back with the Gyro Ball. Earthquake is there for the Magneton. I do have to catch it upon switch in. I could not afford Shed Shell this match because of, like I mentioned, his Fairy Spam and how important leftovers was for this matchup. Now he may not bring Magneton, but it is his only flying resist, and I do have a Tornadus Incarnate, so he may bring it. I don't expect it though. But in case he does, I've got to catch it upon switching, because if he's able to switch it in on a Gyro Ball, trap me, and then and he has Magnet Rise, or he's got Shuka Berry or Substitute or something like that, and he's able to wear me down little by little to where Mega Gardevoir and Ribombee become a huge issue, that could be problematic, and I don't want that to happen. So I either got to play super aggressive, making some doubles to avoid being trapped, or I've got to catch the Magneton upon switching with the Earthquake. And you see Hidden Power Fire is my last move. I'm running a minus speed nature, so I don't have to run a minus special attack nature, and Hidden Power Fire actually does quite a bit to Kartana, being able to knock it out from full, as long as even if it's max HP, it's knocked out from full from a Hidden Power Fire from Bronzong, which is really nice. It does a minimum of 106%, which is insane coming from a no investment Bronzong and being a Hidden Power. Pretty insane. But yeah, that's going to be it for Bronzong. I guess it also, outside of what I've mentioned, it has Levitate, so it's immune to Mudsdale's ground type attacks, and is resistant to Braviary's dual stab, which is really nice. So that's pretty nice. And I can take a knockoff from Kartana, but I don't want to, like I mentioned. I want to keep my item, plus I don't want to take 90%. Actually, it does like 85% max or something like that, but it's still problematic. Anyways, we can move on to Snorlax now. Next up, we've got Snorlax, and what this thing gives us is a big fat boy. It really does, in all honesty. This thing can take a hit and nuke something the hell back. Can take quite a few hits from Mega Gardevoir, actually, which is insane, and blows that thing back with a Choice Banded return. This defense investment, though, allows us to avoid 2-hit KOs and stuff from Kartana's Leaf Blade, Smart Strike, so on and so forth. Can't be 2-hit KO'd by Braviary or Mudsdale or anything like that. My SPDF and HP stats are out the roof anyway, so like I mentioned, naturally taking hits from Mega Gardevoir pretty comfortably. His only resist to return are the Klefki and the Magneton, both of which we have the Earthquake for. Of course, Klefki could have the Magnet Rise, but I don't really expect it to. Not in this matchup anyway. If he even brings the Klefki at all. But yeah, we have Return and Earthquake and Rest Talk. So once we're beat down to the point where we're forced to kind of switch, and we know we can live any one hit coming back in outside of like, basically nothing on his squad can OHKO us except for like Choice Band or Life Orb Como. But outside of that, nothing can OHKO us. Potentially 2-hit KOs depending on Braviary's set. Or like a Cartonish. If Cartonish like Choice Band, it might 2-hit KOs with Leaf Blade. But outside of that, nothing's really threatening us immediately. And these Choice Banded Return and Earthquake's going to put in a lot of work. I didn't need Immunity. I didn't need Gluttony. So I felt like Thick Fat was the best ability. Middle ground ability, I guess I should say. And then, like I mentioned, the Choice Band and Rest Talk's really, really nice. Able to fire off very, very, very powerful returns. If I'm burnt by a Tentacruel or I'm poisoned or anything like that, I can rest and then Sleep Talk later on in the match. And yeah, this thing could be very, very problematic for my opponent. It puts in quite a bit of work. Like I mentioned, able to OHKO Mega Gardevoir, does quite a bit to Milotic, and able to potentially OHKO Tentacruel after Stealth Rocks depending on his set if he's more SPDF invested. The only problem would be him bringing a Incineroar with Intimidate, and then like having that and like a defensive Milotic or a defensive Como could be problematic. But outside of that, Snorlax should put in the work, and we can move on to our Emboar. Alright, so with Emboar, which is going to be a Flare Blitz, Superpower, Wild Charge, Bulk Up variant with the Pasho Berry. So we've got quite a bit of HP investment, nearly max, lacking the 4 EVs extra, which with this gives us a odd number of HP, which is better. And then we've got the Pasho Berry. So what the Pasho Berry allows us to do is to stay in versus Tentacruel, which is problematic for Greninja. So Greninjas are really, really nice. And Mega Sceptile, as you see, is our 6-month. Greninja and Mega Sceptile appreciate Tentacruel being gone. And especially Greninja, like maybe Mega Sceptile can do it itself too, but Greninja really appreciates that Mon being gone to spam Hydro Pump, to spam Dark Pulse in the late game, and to avoid like being like clicking extra sensory versus a Tentacruel and being like Scald Burned or Sludge Wave Crit or something and being knocked out or something like that. This thing kind of baits Tentacruel to stay in. It also hits Milotic with Wild Charge. Can stay in on it with my Pasho Berry and click Wild Charge. I can take all kinds of Leaf Blades and Smart Strikes from Kartana, especially if I have one Bulk Up. I doubt that I'll be in a position to bulk up unless I'm straight up in versus Kartana. It could have some kind of coverage. It could go for Swords Dance and have like a Giga Impact or something like that and straight up take a huge chunk or blow me away or something like that. We have like I mentioned, a bulk up set here with a bulk up involved. Basically, his entire squad is either OHKO'd or 2-hit KO'd outside of like a Flame Orb, Marvel Scale, Milotic, and potentially like a very, very bulky Como. It might be able to survive a +1 superpower. Flare Blitz straight up OHKO's Mega Gardevoir with no boost from this Adamant max, well not max attack, but Adamant attack nature with 16 EVs. Flare Blitz blows through Mega Gardevoir, Kartana, Klefki, Superpower blows through Incineroar. Both of those moves blow through the Magneton. Flare Blitz blows through Ribombee and Braviary and Sigilith. So yeah, very, very nice to have. Superpower is really nice too, like I mentioned, for the Como and the Incineroar, both of which resist Flare Blitz. And then we've got Wild Charge, like I mentioned, for the Milotic and the Tentacruel. Reckless boost Flare Blitz and Wild Charge to incredible heights, and with the bulk up, it just makes it really, really nasty. So I don't have any speed investment, but versus his squad, I don't really need it. The only things I need to outpace Well, actually, with investment, most of his squad outpaces me anyway, and the idea was to really just bait my Lodic or Tentacruel to stay in, so I can slap one of them to open up holes for Greninja. And this also gives me a really solid Kartana switch in. I can switch in repetitively on the Kartana. I don't have any kind of recovery, so eventually I would be chipped down, but by then hopefully I would know the Kartana set and I could switch accordingly from there, or it would be chipped enough too to where something else on my squad could avenge it. Now, like I mentioned, this thing has no speed investment. It sets at 166 speed, so if I had like +2, like an agility pass to me or a tailwind up or something like that, and had +2 speed, I would set it 332 speed, which outpaces Mega Gardevoir. And if he's speed creeping with things like Rabombi and Kartana to outpace me speed creeping a Mega Gardevoir with some of my other mons, then I will be just a few more points faster than that underneath my tailwind. Speaking of tailwind, we can hop into Tornadus now. Okay, so Tornadus is a Flyinium Z variant with the Hurricane and the Hidden Power Ground. So like I mentioned earlier when his squad was on screen, his only flying resist are the Klefki and the Magneton, both of which are bopped by Hidden Power Ground. Hurricane knocks out, with this investment, 52 EVs and special attack, knocks out the Kartana from full, even if it's max HP, and Hidden Power Ground should knock out the Magneton upon switch in, as long as it's not like Eviolite. Or 2-hit KOs upon switch in if it is Eviolite. So if I don't knock it out upon switch in, if I predict it to come in and I click Hidden Power Ground and it doesn't knock out, I just click it again because I know he's not Scarf. And if it does knock out, then he was more than likely Choice Scarf. Or if he shook a berry, that will pop and let me know his set. We have enough speed, like Greninja, to outpace Kartana and everything below. We have the Tailwind on here so that we can boost the rest of our squad's speed ×2 for 4 turns. Whether it be Greninja, Emboar, Tornadus itself, or Mega Sceptile taking advantage of the Tailwind, it doesn't really matter because, well, I guess it does matter. But the reason being that it's significant for all of them is because he could potentially have a Choice Scarf Kartana, which outpaces my entire squad outside of my mons behind Tailwind. He has Como-O, which could potentially set up a Dragon Dance, and if I was to get this Prankster Tailwind off, which thanks to my Prankster ability, Tailwind would go before a +1 Como-O, and I could get a Tailwind up and then revenge kill it with Mega Sceptile's Dragon Pulse or something like that, which could be nice. He could be a Quiver Dance Rabombi, which could be problematic, and I would need... Actually, to be honest, at that point, Emboar doesn't even outpace a +1 Rabombi behind Tailwind. It doesn't even outpace a neutral speed Rabombi with my Tailwind, so that's pretty problematic. But I don't think Rabombi will be the biggest issue. I do have Bronzong on the squad, and I don't have any mons that can necessarily set up a Quiver Dance on, thanks to Emboar having the Flare Blitz and Snorlax being Choice Banded, Greninja having Gunk Shot, and then Torn having Hurricane, and Mega Sceptile having Hidden Power Fire anyway, which we'll get to in a second. So we have enough bulk on this thing so that we're not 2-hit KO'd by Leaf Blade. We can come in and avoid a 2-hit KO from Leaf Blade from Kartana, and if it's got a +1 boost, we can come in and avoid being knocked out after Stealth Rocks. So if it got a Beast boost and its attack was raised, and he went for Leaf Blade versus our Tornadus here, we would survive after Stealth Rocks on a sliver, but we would survive and in return knock him out with the Hurricane. So what the Flyinium Z gives us is a Supersonic Sky Strike, which means if he was to have the Rabombi in or the Como-O and they were set up or anything, or they were in a position to set up and then win or something like that, and I couldn't afford to miss Hurricane, I would just click the Supersonic Sky Strike. So yeah, that's basically it for Tornadus. Defog is pretty simple, I guess. He's got access to Toxic Spikes, Stealth Rock, Sticky Web, so like having Prankster Defog is really, really nice for the matchup. But yeah, I guess we can move on to our last mon now. Alright, so last but not least, like I mentioned, the Mega Septile. This thing's a nuke this week with Leaf Storm, Dragon Pulse, Hidden Power Fire, and the Earthquake. We're running a minus FNF nature so that we can get the most out of Earthquake versus things like Klefki, Magneton, even Tentacruel and Incineroar. It could be nice to get those Earthquakes off versus. Obviously, Incineroar gets the Intimidate, so that's not the best case scenario. Would be to weaken it and pick it off with Dragon Pulse or something like that. Anyways, Leaf Storm into Earthquake should knock out a Mega Gardevoir. Hidden Power Fire always knocks out Kartana. Dragon Pulse should knock out the Como-O. And then we've got Leaf Storm there, hits the Milotic. Leaf Storm into Earthquake should pick off a Tentacruel as well. Hidden Power Fire or Earthquake. It depends on the Klefki set, but one of the two could potentially 2-hit KO, or I guess 3-hit KO. Or if he's maxed out one way or the other, it would be a 4-hit KO with whichever spectrum I'm trying to break that he's maxed out. So that could be problematic. Earthquake knocks out the Magneton. Rabombi is 2-hit KO'd by Hidden Power Fire, if not straight up O-Code after Stealth Rocks, which could be nice. Dragon Pulse is, I guess, if he was to switch in a Braviary on Dragon Pulse, it would be a 2-hit KO. But like Braviary could be bulky too, so and I wouldn't want to stay in versus it anyway. It could be potentially a Choice Scarf. Leaf Storm should mop the Mudsdale, and then Dragon Pulse should be able to do something against the Sigil. If I won't be clicking Leaf Storm versus that, obviously. But yeah, this thing gives me a really nice speed tier with a modest nature. Actually, I'm rash nature because it allows me to, get the most out of Earthquake. But yeah, I'm able to outpace Rabombi, his fastest Pokemon, on his squad without running a speed boosting nature, which is really nice. But yeah, that's gonna be it, and we can hop into the replay now and see how the battle went. All right, so my opponent chooses to bring the Rabombi, Magneton, Mega Gardevoir, Como-O, the Kartana, and Tentacruel. So pretty threatening squad. Some of what I expected, some of what I didn't expect. He doesn't bring the Milotic, which is pretty nice for Greninja and Emboar. It's a nuisance. It's just ridiculously fat. He doesn't bring the Klefki either, which is really nice for Mega Septile and Greninja too, and Tornadus to an extent. I don't have to worry about like Magnet Rise being, and then it being a Steel type and resisting Hurricane and being immune to my Hidden Power Ground. That's super nice too. The Rabombi's there, so webs are a potential. He does have potential Stealth Rocks, webs, and Toxic Spikes in just this matchup. He didn't bring his Spikers, but still, nonetheless, he could potentially hazard stack. He has the potential to have a hazard stacking squad with like a Volt Turn spam. Well, not necessarily Volt Turn, but he could just with Volt Switch spam into things like Kartana and Mega Gardevoir could be very, very, very problematic. It's like I mentioned, his team is very, very problematic for just to deal with in general. He has like so many different threats that can do different things. Very, very diverse move pool and things like that. So he only has one potential Stealth Rocker, being his Como-O, and I felt like Tornadus was my best lead because I could throw off a Hurricane versus anything on his squad. If he leads with Rabombi and he goes for webs, and he takes my Hurricane, then I will either knock him out or break his sash, and then on the following turn I can use Prankster Defog to get rid of his webs and then try to knock him out. So eventually I can knock him out and then defog his webs away no matter what. So that's the general idea behind the Tornadus lead. Yeah, definitely. And if he leads with the Magneton, I could just hard switch out into like Snorlax or something like that. It shouldn't be too problematic. I did expect it to come though. It opens up holes for his Mega Gardevoir, which is really nice for him. So yeah, basically the 6 that he brought are 6 that I definitely thought could come. But yeah, I'm glad to see no Milotic and no Klefki, which were the other 2 big ones that I thought could come. So like I mentioned, his only Stealth Rocker and his Web Setter should be beaten by Tornadus. So we're going to lead off with our Tornadus Incarnate here and see what he wants to lead with. So he's going to lead with this Como-O. And I want to go ahead and say that my opponent was a great sport he offered me a restart after a very, very awful start to this match. My opponent said that he would, if it came down to it, he would rather have a close loss than a shitty win, quote unquote. Shitty win, yeah. So he definitely didn't want to win the way the match started there in our first match. So I'll explain what happened. I went for Hurricane on turn 1 here, and I missed as he went for Thunder Punch, and he did 49% to me, and I survived, or it might have been even less. It might have been like 43%. And I survived with above half HP, but I was paralyzed. On the following turn, I went for Hurricane once again, and was paralyzed, fully paralyzed, and couldn't move, and he was able to get a high roll on the following Thunder Punch and knock me out. And I really didn't want to play at that point, but my opponent offered a restart, and my world lit up, and I was like, okay, this guy's pretty cool. I don't know him, but throughout the season I will get to know him, and like I already know that he's a good guy, and he enjoys the competitive edge of Pokemon. He don't care about playing and winning. He cares about having a competitive match. So that was really nice of him. So now, in our restarted match here, I am going to land my Hurricane. I did tell him if I missed again that we just roll with it because it was just not meant to be. And he doesn't get a para on this turn either. And I don't want to miss my Hurricane on the following turn, and I felt like I didn't need my Z move for anything else in particular. So I felt like now was a fine time to fire it off in case he did switch out into something like Mega Gardevoir or Tentacruel. I could get a big nuke off versus both of them. And if you went Magneton, it would give me more relative damage. Like I would be able to calc the damage better based on how much I did. And if it didn't do enough, I would obviously know that he was Eviolite. And if it did more than it should, then he was more than likely like a Scarf variant or something like this. So I'm going to fire off the Supersonic Sky Strike. My opponent goes out into his Tentacruel. I don't even do half. It reveals Assault Vest damage, so I'm going to hard switch into my Tentacruel. Into my Snorlax. I know he can't set up Toxic Spikes because he's Assault Vest, so I can just fire off a return here. If I got burned, I could have just rested and then switched out and used Rest Talk the following the rest of the match. But I go for the return there, and it does over 60% to his Como. He gets Rocks up as I hard switch into my Tornadus just to defog him away. And I'm going to hard switch back out into my Snorlax as he brings in his Tentacruel. So Snorlax is taking a Scald and a Sludge Wave. And I'm going to fire off another return here. As long as he don't burn me, I should knock him out. And he doesn't get the burn, and we do pick up the knockout here with the Snorlax on turn 8. So that's really nice. Snorlax is doing exactly what it's supposed to. Just punch holes in his team, weaken everything for Greninja and Mega Sceptile. So he brings back out the Como. I'm going to hard switch into Tornadus. I don't want to click in Drain Punch or Close Combat or anything like that. I can survive both. And if he got Rocks up, I wanted to be able to defog him away. So I'm going to go for the Hidden Power as it knocked out the Como. But he hard switches into his Magneton, and it takes a hefty chunk, almost 80%. But since it survived, it reveals that it is Eviolite. So I know that I'm faster, and I can just knock him out with the following Hidden Power Ground. So at this point, he basically kept Como for nothing. I guess if I went for the Hurricane, the Magneton would have ate it up. But Hidden Power Ground did, almost 80% anyway. So if it did anywhere between like 20-25% with Hurricane, I would have been able to 2-hit KO it anyway. So I guess that was a tough play for him. But yeah, we're able to pick up the knockout there, and we're taking a nice early 6-4 lead. And he goes out into the Kartana, and this is great for me because I can go into my Embor as he does 34% with that Leaf Blade, which is just insane to me. I couldn't understand that damage. Like, how could you do so much to me? But I ran the calc, and if he's Jolly Max Attack, he does, with Leaf Blade, a resisted attack to a max HP Embor, which is base 110 HP stat. He does 31 to 36% with Leaf Blade, which is just insane to me. That's so insane. That's so insane. Anyways, should be able to knock him out there with the Flare Blitz. So, just going to click that. He doesn't have a switch in because Como is so weakened. And yeah, the Como just drops. Now he brings in the Mega Gardevoir. I don't want to take a Psychic or a Hyper Voice, so I'm going to hard switch into my Bronzong. And this thing is designed to not be 2-hit KO'd by a Shadow Ball from full. But since I took the Hyper Voice, I am able to be 2-hit KO'd from this point. So I have a decision to make. Do I want to get my stealth rocks up, or do I want to click gyro ball and get rid of this menace? I still have ways around Gardevoir, so I felt like getting my rocks up was best case scenario, as it would break a Ribombee sash. And a little, every extra chip on Gardevoir and Kartana's extra switch-ins too is really nice. So I'm just gonna go for the stealth rock, and it pays off because he goes for the shadow ball, and he gets a crit and a Spadef drop, which I guess it mattered in the in the sense that he was allowed to click Hyper Voice there. Otherwise, he would have had to click Shadow Ball, and I could have switched into Snorlax. But I would have just sacked off my Bronzong there anyway, so no reason to complain or anything about that hacks. Anyways, I'm going to go into my Tornadus Therian. What I can do here is go for the Tailwind. And if Kartana isn't as fast as I think it's going to be, if it's speed creeping guard, I'm going to be able to outpace it here. And I should be able to win the match right here with my inboard. Not necessarily win it, obviously. Ribombee always outpaces, unless he's speed creeping, like I mentioned, at Mega Gardevoir again. But with his Ribombee, since it can outpace Greninja, I do expect it to run enough speed to outpace Greninja. So yeah, I think it would have enough speed to outpace Emboar under Tailwind anyway. So it brings in his Kartana here, and I assume since he brought this thing in immediately that it was either Scarf or it was Scarfed, or it just had enough speed to outpace Emboar under Tailwind anyway. Like it was his only play at that point. So yeah, he does knock us out with the Aerial Ace, and he gets an attack raise. So Greninja can live 1+1 Aerial Ace here and knock him out with the Dark Pulse. And I've got the Tailwind up, so I should be faster no matter what, unless he got a speed boost there and he was Scarf. So thankfully that doesn't happen. And we're able to just click Dark Pulse here. Life Orb Dark Pulse knocks out the Kartana, and now he's got Ribombee. Our Tailwind peters out, so Ribombee could outpace us here. He could go for Quiver Dance, but I do have Gunk Shot, so what I'm going to do here, I could click Hydro Pump or Gunk Shot. I'm going to click the Gunk Shot, as Hydro Pump might miss out on the knockout, especially after a Quiver Dance. I'm going to go for the Gunk Shot, but he knocks us out here with the Moonblast. So I did some calcs, and it turns out that unless he is Specs or Life Orb, he can't knock out my Snorlax. And he did not reveal Life Orb recoil, so I know he's not Life Orb. He could be Pixie Plate, he could be Specs, or he could be Choice Scarf, or he could be Focus Sash. That's my 4 items in my head right now. He knocked out my Greninja. I think it knocked out from full regardless of if he was Pixie Plate or not. I just want to double check on that real quick. Yeah, whether or not he was Pixie Plate didn't matter because Moonblast was overkill. And if he's Scarf, Moonblast has a 100% chance to knock out my Mega Sceptile too, because of my minus Spadef nature. If I wasn't minus Spadef, it would still barely knock out because I have no investment. So either way, my play at this point was to go into my Snorlax. If he is Life Orb, which he's not, he can't knock us out without Life Orb or Specs. But if he is Specs, he can't. Mega Sceptile will outspeed him and knock him out. So I felt like my best series of plays to preserve differential was to go into my Snorlax, because if he was Scarf, I would lose. And he knocks out my Snorlax from this range, then I would lose anyway. And if he is not if he's not Specs, he can't knock me out. And if he is Scarf, then he can't knock out my Snorlax, and I should win 2-0 here if he is Choice Scarf. But I'm not going to get the chance to see if he's Choice Scarf, because we do not outpace, and we do knock him out with the Choice Band return, living on a sliver of health there. Really nice match. It was really fun, back and forth. His Gardevoir put in some work. Kartana was a huge threat. Yeah, it was really fun. Really fun. Tornadus put in the work, though, for real. Greninja being able to knock out the Kartana with a Life Orb Dark Pulse was really nice. The match went phenomenally. I felt like both players made the plays that they needed to make. I felt like there were some misplays on both sides of the game, but you can't get every play perfectly. I'm not a perfect player anyway, and we were still able to pick up a 2-0 victory here. Snorlax. I want to talk about Snorlax. With no special defense investment and only 80 EVs in HP, this thing tanked 2 Scalds and a Sludge Wave from Tentacruel, which has like base 100 special attack, and then tanked a Pixie Plate boosted Moonblast from a base 95 special attack Rabombi. It turns out he was Pixie Plate, so he couldn't have knocked out my Snorlax there. I don't think even like a high roll would have gotten him the knockout. I think it did let me just check real quick, make sure. It did a maximum of 34%. So it wasn't able to knock us out there, and it's going to be a good game. So, yeah, we're going to move on to 2-0 with a +4 differential. And I already got more wins than we did last season. That's really good. And we're going to be moving on to week 3 with a little bit of momentum, as well as we're facing off against another player that I don't think I've ever faced off against in Avon, coach of the Anastar City Aerials. So, again, good game to El Biribon, coach of the Carioca or Carioca Krooks. Good luck the rest of the season, my man. It was a pleasure to play. Now, you guys can let me know what you guys thought about the prep and the plays on both sides of the field. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.